Okay. Here we are. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, this is working. And Facebook. I'm also trying to stream onto Facebook and like on several platforms at once. And this stuff, it's just like it's something else. I suck at it. So it's taken me a while to get on here. Hopefully, I managed to stay online this time round. Okay, stream setup, streaming software. It's all connected. How come it's not live yet? Nobody knows. All right, go live. Guys, I'll be with you in just a minute, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I just got to make sure that I am on, I am live, wherever it is that I'm supposed to be live. Um, Good Lord. All right, let's try this. What's up? How are you? How's Svedikson, Pearl O, Christina, Ivy, or is it Ivy? Okay, and here we go. Let me try this. Okay. God. All right, the Facebook thing is not going to work apparently. It did just a minute ago, but not anymore. Forget it. Now, that is it. Well, then, you're lost, Facebook. What can I say? All right. Well, anywho, time I focused on you guys, whoever's watching on YouTube and on Instagram and Facebook. You're just not so lucky this time round. What can I say? I'm an old woman. I cannot figure stuff out, apparently. This is so frustrating. You got no idea. How come I can't just figure this stuff out off the bat? I mean, it's supposed to be easier. It's supposed to be a little friendlier. What sort of interface is this? I'm so very much at a loss. Fine. All right, so let's see what we got here. So there's a bit of a delay because you first go live on the platform that creates the stream, and that it gets to Instagram like, I don't know, a gazillion minutes later. So if there's a bit of a disconnect in terms of what I say and what you're typing up in your answers, that will account for the problem in question. So let's see what we got going on. Facebook, forget it. All right. So what is it that is happening? How come we're on here? Hello, hello, hello. Because we are in the middle of this workshop. That is one of 4 workshops that I plan to stream onto here, onto YouTube, onto Facebook, hopefully sometime soon. And the workshops are there for me to introduce you into the world of Sound of Identity, the course that's about to launch on January 15th. And I just want to, sort of let you sneak a peek. What is it that this work is all about? What is identity is all about when it comes to pronunciation courses? And what is it that poetry's got to do with it, especially when we focused on vowels, on speech sounds, and on vowels in particular. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show some slides so that we got all kinds of visual support, and it's not just me, myself, and I, and the dog. And how's it gonna? Okay, so I'm gonna go. This is the first time. Well, this is the second time technically, but now I'm trying to do like several things at once, and I'm a bit, at 6s and 7s. I'm a bit of a it's chaotic, but I do promise I'm going to get better at this. So if you come back for the second one and the third one and the fourth one, you'll see a whole different person doing this, okay? All right, enough of this chatter, right? So I'm going to share the screen, all right? And it's going to send me all the way up here, and we're going to present so that it's all nice and pretty there. So workshop 1. Poetic vowels. Let's take a look. So why is it that I invite you to go on this journey with me in terms of discovering your own pronunciation and rediscovering your own accent through the prism of poetry. Why is it that I think of poetry as a great way to deal with it all? Because, as it says on the slide, right? So we're thinking of poetry as spoken word as its own art, right? So in and of itself, it's art. Someone said once, when you write, whether it be poetry or prose, you're never alone because you got your readers, you got those people who are on the other end of the exchange, right? And I think it's the same with speaking, right? So you're never alone when you speak. And there's always this, chemistry happening of some sort. So not to get too metaphysical, right? So I want us to think of poetry as an exaggerated reality, right? Where the sounds are a little bit more emphatic, right? Where the waves that we create to create the cadence and the rhythm are a little bit larger, are a little bit more, there's more presence to them. There's a bit more emphasis to them. There's a bit more, here I am, listen to me talk, right? And when it comes to prawn, when it comes to vowels and consonants and clusters and intonations, you want to exaggerate stuff for a bit, and then you're just going to sort of, slide it back to the middle. So that is why. And before we look into several poets, I'm going to sort of preempt this with a very important, well, it's not a disclaimer. So it's this message that got me in trouble yesterday. I was talking about this technique of stretching vowels. And another term that I can use to describe this is to milk your vowels. Apparently, Instagram finds that sexually explicit when you milk your vowels. And I'm not going to produce too many E's and A's today so that I do not confuse the artificial intelligence behind Instagram into blocking the heck out of me and cutting me off my own stream. But we are going to have some fun with the E's and I's, and we're going to stretch the vowels. Why is there a carton of milk being used as a visual for this? Because it's all about getting all of it out, getting all of the vowels potential out there, right? So stretching it away, milking it as much as you can, right? So that's what we're going to be doing a lot of today, just for you to know why we're doing this, because we're exaggerating reality. We're exaggerating reality through looking into poetry. But first things first, let us have some fun of practical nature. Let us warm ourselves up a little bit, right? And of course, we're going to look into our consonants as well. So we cannot just do vowels, in isolation. So let us start with the consonants for that matter. Okay, if you do got some water, grab onto your glass and hold on to it. You're going to need it. So what do we got here? We got the thfs and the triad. Let us start with the first line up here. So we're going to do what? We're going to make sure that we are aware of these three consonants being voiceless, right? So I want you to place your fingers, because today is all about awareness, physical awareness, phonetic awareness, what have you. Place these two fingers, right? The middle finger and the index finger onto this portion of your throat. That is where the voice box is located. So if you're a guy, this is where your Adam's apple is. If you're a girl, this is where your Adam's apple would be, right? So, and I want you to not feel the vibration for the first three letters here and the first three sounds, that is. So we got and look at how there's nothing going on in your throat. And isn't it exciting just really, truly knowing what it is that's going on in your body in terms of resonance, in terms of vibrating or lack thereof, right? So it's all very much, it's not something we, tend to think about a lot when talking. But when we exaggerate reality and when we kind of pause to think about what it is that comes out our mouths, this is what we get to do. We get to be cognizant of what the body does to make those sounds happen, right? Now we go in to place those fingers onto that same voice box, and we go into voice things up. We go in to make the th triad into the vz. And we go in to go on like 5 times, right? And we go in to feel those vibrations in our throats and have fun with it. So we got the vz, the vz, the vz, the vz, the vz. And now we go into speed it up a little bit because, well, those, shifts from one position into another is what makes it all, makes it super fun, this sort of warm up. So we got the vz, 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 right? You kind of add on this schwa sound, right? The to make the consonants pronounceable in this little sequence. So the vowels are always going to be there at the end of the day. It's never just consonants. And moving on further, what do we got here? So this is where we'll look at a very energetic consonant, because it's all about the vibration in your bottom lip here. So make sure that those upper teeth are so in contact with the bottom lip, right, that you can feel the lip dance, okay? You can feel it dancing, right? And you are able to hold out the v, right? So you can, again, just make sure that you do not drop it too soon, right? So we're going to go, and you can sort of help yourself out as you kind of gesticulate to accompany the phonetic bit of it all with the physical, kinesthetic bit of it all, right? So we got, stir it for me, feel the resonance, feel it kind of going in here, and the belt portion of your face very much resonating, right? So then we're going to add on some vowels, and we're going to make them juicier with the help of this v sound, right? So we got v-v-vi, 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 just the first line here, so make sure you do not rush yourself into anything. V-v-vi, 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 v-v-vi. And make sure that you relax into that final vowel and you do not force it. V-v-vi, v-v-vi, v-v-vi. And then you move on to the second line here, and it turns into something that's a little more central. So instead of well, actually, it's almost at the same level as the previous one, I, schwa sound, and then it, but it's right here in the middle, a, v-v-vay, 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 v-v-vay. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to let the air in through your nostrils as you go on about producing the sequences in question and letting the air out your mouth. Then we're going to move on to vo, right? So the O, one of the vowels that helps us express a lot of feelings, right? O, vo, v-v-vo, 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 and go on for a while. Do not stop yourself from going on further. And then landing onto the final line here, we get oi, same as in boy, right? So oi, oi, oi. It's a bit more protruded in the American version as opposed to the British version. V-v-voy, 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 voy, voy. And now we're going to go from the first one all the way down to the fourth one. We're going to make sure that we juice it up with the vibrating off our lips, right? The bottom lip, that is. And we're going to make sure that we really send out that final vowel in the sequence, right? In each of the lines. Outwards and upwards. We almost sing it out. We almost chant it out, right? And do try and focus on where your tongue is for those little diphthongs. I, a, o, oi. So let's try this out. V-v-vi, v-v-vay, v-v-vo, v-v-voy. And once more. V-v-vi, v-v-vay, v-v-vo, v-v-voy. And a final time here, the third time. V-v-vi, v-v-vay, v-v-vo, v-v-voy. Alrighty. So moving on further, what do we got here? We got a set of vowels that are easily confusable for a lot of folk for whom English happens to be their second language, right? Or third language or fourth. I mean, we got so many multilinguals on here. I'm sure of it. So what I want you to do is I want you to not like ignore the consonants, right? And just look at the three vowels that we're trying to try and distinguish in between. So we got a, and moving on to and moving on to ah. So let's really focus on the placement of our tongue and what it is that our jaw does for each one of the three sounds before we move on to the practical part of it, right? So we're going to really think about where the tongue is, because with the vowels, the problem is, unlike consonants, they do not have any obstruction being part of the setup, right? So with there's something touching something, right? There's something being in touch with another part of your mouth, and that in turn creates an obstacle for the air to travel through, and it has to kind of go around it or under it, and it results in a certain quality of sound. And it's really physical in terms of, okay, I register what touches what. The tip of the tongue is touching the alveolar ridge, the little portion behind the upper teeth, or the back of the tongue is tending towards the soft palate, the portion of the roof of my mouth that is more in the back towards the throat. So I see how this is what is touching, and this is what is in contact, one thing with each other, one thing with the other. And that is really easy to make sense of. But when it comes to vowels, it's just the tongue taking on a position, either higher or lower, and that is it. There's no contact of anything with anything. So it is just the tongue traveling and taking on a certain position to create a certain stream of a certain quality for the stream of air that comes out your mouth. So I want you to look at this portion here, and I want you to go yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. And I want you to think about where your tongue is for the portion of it. Yeah, 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 yeah. And this is where the tongue is going to be very much tending towards the floor of the mouth for this vowel here. So we're going to get right? So this sound is not kidding around. It's like it's really comfortable with itself. That's where I'm at, right? So it's sassy, and it's unapologetic, and it's here and it's not going anywhere. Right? So I want you to then move on to the second portion here and see how we get a lot more central. We are looking at a vowel that basically is produced via doing nothing, via not moving your tongue towards any place in your mouth, upwards or downwards, doesn't matter, right? So it just stays where it's at. So if I'm sitting right here, not bothering my tongue to do any work for me, this position, the original position of the tongue, is what is going to help me produce this sound in the second word here. So we get So just make a noise whilst not moving anything inside your mouth, and you're going to get it. Right? And because it's a stressed sound, it's going to have a wave to it. Stuck. Stuck. And as we move on towards the final vowel in the first line here, we're going to yawn it out. That's my favorite because it's the most relaxed vowel in the world, right? So the most relaxed vowel just imaginable, right? So once you go, right? So it's very much oval in nature, right? Stock. And your tongue is going to go all the way down towards the floor of the mouth. Right? So now we're going to just go and I want you to really think about what's going on with the tongue, because it's all about the tongue placement for the vowels. Do not ever forget that. Just the tongue is what's going to matter. Okay, the lips, that's secondary. Okay, so now we got and then the second one, and then the final one, the yawn one, the oval one, where the tongue is all the way down at the floor of the mouth. Now let us do the little triples here, right? The little triads. So we got stack, stuck, stock. Once more, stack, stuck, stock. And now we're going to speed it up a little bit. We're going to go stack, stuck, stock, stack, stuck, stock. And you can move around a little bit. Stack, stuck, stock, stack, stuck, stock, stack, stuck, stock. And let's do the same for the second portion here. The consonant that precedes the is the one that you just breathe out, right? So it's also a pretty relaxed type of consonant. We got hat, hut, hot, hat, hut, hot, hat, hut, hot, all, all, hat, hut, hot, hat, hut, hot. And then you move on to the L. Do remember that the L is the light type of vowel, not the dark type of vowel. That's really, really prevalent throughout the Eastern European production, right? So we got to make sure that the tip of our tongue is in contact with the alveolar ridge. That is the portion of the roof of your mouth right behind your upper teeth here. So we get L, L. So this is what your tongue is doing. It's not, like taking any shape. It's just, bullseye. It's like a dart flying towards the bullseye. So we get L, 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 L. And then we land onto those vowels. Lack, lack, lack. Let's just do the first word. Lack, lack, lack. And if you want to find that placement for the tongue, just go la, 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 lack, lack, lack. And then we move on to luck, luck, luck. It's central, it's contained. It's very, it's a kind of vowel that you don't have to do much to make it happen, right? So it's like, I'm here, just do it, just make a noise. Luck, luck, luck. And move on to the yawn one. Ovalize it a little bit, send the tongue towards the floor of the mouth, and we get lock, lock, lock. And now let us just triple it up. We go leck, luck, lock, leck, luck, lock, leck, luck, lock, leck, luck, lock. How'd you feel about your vowels? Because we're moving on to some problematic consonants. So we got and we get through and through. We got to make sure that we drop the D in between, right? So it's not going to be end. Forget about it, right? So it's rock and roll. It's black and white. It's N without the D-O. So we go through and through, through and through. For the ooh sound, what are you going to do? What's going to happen to your tongue? It's going to raise the back of itself and move it towards the roof of your mouth. So it's going to be the kind of sound that's got high positioning at the back of your, towards your throat, at the back of your mouth. Whereas this portion here, right, the tip is going to be pointing downwards, right? So it's not doing anything. With the vowels, the tip is just here, right? It's the back of the tongue and it's the middle of the tongue that's going to be doing the work. So with ooh, now I want you to really visualize the back of your tongue doing this, okay? What's going on with the lips, though? With the ooh sound, the lips do matter, right? So I want you to, first of all, do not ever forget that with the ooh sound, it's all about mobility. So it's the kind of vowel that moves. It's not in like some sort of static place. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It's not really, it moves, it's not static, right? It's not stationary. It's not like you've just found the positioning and you keep at it and you hold out the vowel. No, it moves whilst you do it. So you do not just go ooh, you do not protrude your lips right away, but the protrusion itself is the making of the sound. So it's ooh. So you move from into ooh. And the moving itself is what helps you create the sound, whilst the tongue is all the way up there. Ooh, 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 right? And then we go through and through, through and through. And now we're going to sway from side to side, okay? Just add a little bit of movement here. Through and through, through and through, through and through, through and through, through. Hold it out for me. All right, moving on. What do we got here? This is where it gets real interesting because we're moving on towards more complex little structures, right? So we're not just focusing on the vowels themselves, right, on the vowel production itself, but we're going to look at the waviness to the quality of vowel production, right? So we go da da da, da da da. So this is the scheme that we're trying to draw out here, right? So we go da da da, da da da, da da da, da da da. And that's what's going to create this cadence, right? Like the beat, the time, right? We create the measure of this rhythmical motion through making sure that the first and the last portion of da 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 are going to be pushed outwards, right? And upwards. They're going to be sent up so that you reach a certain peak, right? They're going to be louder. They're going to be longer. They're going to be larger. They're going to be bigger. They're going to be more massive, right? So you get da da da, da da da. And they do the same for letter B here. La la la, la la la. And then letter C, you send it out towards E, right? So the E sound is somehow going to be the oo sound's cousin. So it also has the back of itself, the tongue has got the back of itself moving towards the back of your mouth, the roof of your mouth, I'm sorry. So what happens is you got the same tongue position as for oo, but the lips are going to do something different, right? So when it comes to back vowels and front vowels, the lip position is going to contribute massively into, what the difference is all about, right? So we get E, where basically you kind of find yourself creating a gentle smile, right? So there's got to be the lips, the corners of your lips moving to the right and to the left. They're going to be moving gently. So it's not traveling upwards, but to the side only. And you get E, E. So instead of ooh, 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 where it's totally different resonance, totally different quality, totally different lip work. The positioning is the same as for ooh, but the smile thing is going to shape it into a whole different vowel. So back to letter C here, we got me, 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 me. Push, like go push. Me, 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 me. And then, of course, getting into the Santa Clausness of January's mood. So we get ho, 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 ho. It's a bit of a triangle that you try and kind of produce in the matter of vowels. And now, number 2 here, so we got da-da-da. So I want you to think of sentences where you got that final keyword towards the very end of the sentence, and it's the only keyword because it's a relatively short combination, short phrase. So you get da-da-da, da-da-da. So it's like you're running towards that final bit. Da-da-da, la-la-la, me, ho, 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 da-da-da, la la la, and then you jump and you land right onto it. Now let's do the same for number 3. So it's the mid portion that's going to find itself in the stressed position. So it's da da da, da da da, which is a very common pattern for vowel production because we create those waves going upwards and back down whenever we stress a vowel in a key word, right? So it's always going to be bum, 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 da da da, la la la, me, ho ho ho, da da da, la la la, me, ho ho ho. Moving on to number 4, da da da, la la la, me, ho ho ho, and kind of lean into, towards the screen. Da da da, la la la, me, ho ho ho, and you're not necessarily, you don't yell it out. Rather, you lean into it and you resonate along and you do not hold back, right? You give it your all because it's the stress portion of the little phrase here. Da da da, la la la, me, ho ho ho. Because the positioning of the tongue in all of these sequences, right? E, o is going to be the same, right? So it's a matter of what you do to create the rhythm so that the little made up phrase here, it's not actual words, but it's something that, kind of imitates wording, right? Da da da, la la la, me, so that we know what to focus on and what to let go of. And that's what's going to create the musicality that is English musicality, as opposed to French, as opposed to Spanish, as opposed to, I don't know, say African language, whatever it might be. So English has got this da 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 da. So it's something you can clap out. It's something that you can hear all throughout rap music and hip hop and whatnot. And it's no coincidence that it was in English that this music started to, that it came to be in. All right. So moving on further, what do we got? A couple more. Yeah. So I wanted to just say some words that have got those very same schemes to them, right? So we got ABC, 1, 2, 3, dogs eat bones. And then we got imprecise, a hot dog. I would say it's a hot dog, but someone was thinking more like, I guess there's a dog in there hot, because otherwise it would have been da-da-da, a hot dog. And then we got they eat bones, they eat bones, they eat bones. We tend towards the final word in number 4. They eat bones. And then moving on to the third column here. So we got the second bit as the most prevalent bit, and we're going to create the wave with it, right? It serves as the peak inside this sequence. So we got condition, and then D, condition, a hot dog, they eat them. And then just the same principle, but with the first syllable being at the center of the stressedness of production. So we got alphabet, hot dog stand, gimme one. So these 4 schemes, they are the ones that constitute the rhythmical reality of English, whether it be in a song, in a poem, or in, I don't know, a conversational exchange, whatever it might be. Alrighty. And you see how we got like, they eat them, right? So we got step, step, step. So always think of these steps being there for you to step onto, for you to get to the peak with. And then you move downwards, back down, right? So it's always, there's all this curviness, there's this geometry, right? So it's never flat. All right. And a couple of phrases for us to play with. So, would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like a cup of coffee? We're tending towards coffee, right? So would you like, that is just linking it all together, right? Cup of coffee. And coffee is the final keyword. So that's the one we're going to give our all to, right? Would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like a cup of coffee? And then moving on to the second question here. So again, draw in your mind's eye, right? What is it that, where are you going? Like, draw in the air, draw in your imagination, right? Did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? See that? See that? And then, should we go? Should we go? Step, step, step. Should we go? Should we go? How's it going, you guys? Moving on further. What do we got? How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that? So you're tending towards no. How is the starting point? So it also deserves, a little push in there. How do you know that? Know that. Who told you? What the heck? What the heck? Told. Heck. No. And they all got vowels, and it's the vowels that we express our feelings with, the emotion that accompanies a certain phrase there, because it's not just words. Words are not just words, right? They are instruments. They're tools for us to communicate whatever's in our mind, whatever's in our hearts. So moving on further, I do think we're warmed up enough, a certain amount that's good enough for us to move towards poetry. And I want us to, know what's coming. And it's basically 3 poets. Martin Luther King was not a poet, but I would say that he spoke as if he were a poet who performs their poetry. Whereas Maya Angelou is just a giant, a legend. She's everything when it comes to American literature, American poetry, American civil activism, all of it. And Rupi Kaur is a young Canadian Indian poet whose performance I once went to. So I was very much into her work a number of years ago, and now I just, I do follow her. And I think there's something special about her. And let me tell you what exactly it is that I think to be so special. Now, before we look at Rupi Kaur's performance there, I want us to watch this little vid where Amanda Gorman, another gem, super young, very talented, beautifully humble, very American. And she is a poet who, despite how young she is, she's already able to, to teach others how to approach writing poetry and showing it to the world. And there's one masterclass that really did it for me, that got me all interested into the work that she does. So let us listen real careful what it is that she's got to say about finding your unique voice. And she does talk about finding your unique voice in poetry. But again, back to the beginning, poetry is nothing but exaggerated reality, right? So we find our voices in poetry, in, let's say, singing, in art, in arts, and all of that is going to reflect whatever it is that we do with our voices in everyday exchanges, right? So it's all very much connected. One reflects the other. So whatever it is that she's about to say, and she's going to go on for about 2 minutes, I want you to think of how it applies to your life, despite you not being a poet. Unless you are a poet, let me know. We're going to do a live together sometime soon. So let's listen up to what it is that she's got to tell us. Hello, this is me. And then present, share screen, the other portion. Here, masterclass. Like I said, she delivers masterclasses, even though she's super young. How cool is she? All right, let's do this. Listen up. Okay.
Your poetic voice is basically your imprint or your DNA as a writer. It's kind of those specific qualities of your tone, your style, your rhetoric, your subject matter, which is unique to you. So, for example, if I were to close read my own work and try to say, what is this specific poetic voice that's speaking right now, just to pick out a verse from my poem, The Hill We Climb, we've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. That's just a small part of my writing. But if I were to read this and say, what is this voice? This voice is a little grave, a little somber, without being hopeless and pessimistic. This voice also seems to really lean into sound, meaning we have braved, belly, beast. We have norms and notions. And this voice is also really interested in deconstructing and breaking words apart. So we're seeing things like just is as opposed to just is. We see peace isn't quiet. And so if I were to describe this voice, it's both a serious and yet optimistic voice, which really wants to pay close attention to the words that we use and how we can detangle them from each other. You'll have your own writing voice that you'll figure out as you keep reading and writing. The way that I saw myself changed as I began to write poems. I was really private, so I wasn't showing them necessarily to the people around me. But when I was reading my lyrics on the page, something clicked in my brain that said, this is your voice. it's different and distinct from the voice that you're hearing in your ears, which might sound different from other people's because you have a speech impediment. But what your real voice is, your true voice, is the voice of your soul, the voice of your spirit, which finds full fruition in poetry.
All right. So first of all, it says emulate, don't imitate. We're about to tackle this as well. What's the difference there? So look at her. Look at Amanda. Well, what I find really interesting here, she used to have a speech impediment. She used to not be able to pronounce the R sound in a normative manner. So she wasn't even able to say her last name without it sounding a bit different. It was more like Gorman than Gorman. And, she went on to change that, to alter that, because as a performer, well, you don't want those things looked into. So, it's all whatever sound you're working on, it is betterable, it is improvable, it is amelioratable. You're gonna be fine, right? So moving on further, what do we got? Do you think about what your voice is, not in principle, but right this moment? Like she said, in this poem, it's more of a serious voice, more of a pessimistic voice, more of a somber voice, more of a gloomy voice. So, how is that communicated in sound, in phonetics, in what does that expression look like? It is just so darn interesting. So, how is it shown through sound, through the vowels? Does it get flatter? Does it get quieter? Does it get louder? Does it get, what is it that happens to it? So start watching yourself. Again, positive kind of chill awareness. Don't, police yourself, but just notice stuff. So moving on further, what do we got? So going to share what? More stuff. Right, so back to Rupi Kaur. Okay. All right, so Rupi. We're going to talk about the other slides as well. So there she is, super gorgeous, super young, a ton of success, a ton of potential, a ton of presence. She's got it all. And what I want you to look at as we look at her poem is, as we look at her performing the poem, she really is a performer. She's not just someone who writes, but she, passes it on with her own instrument. I want you to look at how she goes about her, the body work. What is it that her body does? Is she swaying? How does she go about her hands, her wrists? Is it, reflective of what's being said with those words? Can you see whether she's relaxed, whether she's not relaxed? What is it that gives it away? Or maybe there is this presence that is, relaxed and executive, and it just does something to you. Is there, I'm about to tell you what I think, what it does to me, but I would like for you to think about what it does to you guys. So intentionality of the body, right? So intention, commitment, when you produce sound and you know why, and you know who you're talking to, and you know how you feel about what you're saying, it's going to be reflected in how your shoulders are, your feet, your limbs, your back, your neck, your face, your jaw, all of it, right? So it's all interconnected, and in poetry, in performing poetry, one can really see that. And I really like the metaphor of it being choreographed. We choreograph stuff, but we, more so we improvise rather than we choreograph in advance. But we choreograph stuff through life, how we talk, how we move, and then we just work out our own routines and we kind of adhere to them, right? And we invent motion, reinvent motion, rediscover our own voices. I know it sounds very, just super abstract and metaphorically, I don't know. There's something to it. reinvent your voice as you reinvent the sounds that you produce with your voice. Just think about what it means to you. So I want you to look at Rupi Kaur's poem here. Let's take a look. Stop screen again. I gotta learn to just shift on to the next one without doing this. Okay. And then share. And then Rupi. And she's going to talk a little bit about what this poem is about. So I can't wait for you to hear. Let's go.
Okay. So this next piece is called Broken English, and it was inspired by, I moved to Canada when I was about 3.5, and growing up in a very Indian home, but then also casually walking to your school with all the white kids, it was difficult because I had to do this fine dance between what the family wanted and what society in the West wanted. And growing up, it was always so embarrassing when we'd go to the grocery store and my mom would be yapping away so loudly in Punjabi to me, and I'd be so embarrassed. I would literally shrink in my clothes and be like, Mom, come on, can you just try to act a little bit more Canadian? And thankfully, I grew up, and I think it was around like 21 when I was off at university. I realized, wow, I was so foolish. They dropped everything that they knew and understood for generations and generations, and they showed up at this foreign place and they built this entire life for me and my siblings. And that to me is the definition of art, and that's how Broken English was born. I think about the way my father pulled the family out of poverty without knowing what a vowel was. And my mother raised 4 children without being able to construct a perfect sentence in English. A discombobulated couple that landed in the new world with hopes that left the bitter taste of rejection in their mouth. No family, no friends, just man and wife, 2 university degrees that meant nothing, 1 mother tongue that was broken now, 1 swollen belly with a baby inside, a father worrying about jobs and rent, because no matter what, this baby was coming. And they thought to themselves, for a split second, was it worth it to put all of our money into the dream of a country that's swallowing us whole? And Papa looks at his woman's eyes and sees loneliness living where the iris was. Wants to give her a home in a country that looks at her with the word visitor wrapped around their tongue.
All right. So what do you guys think? So we got this speech producer, art producer. We got someone who shares her story, very intimate. Okay, so you're never alone when you write. You're never alone when you speak. You're never alone when you perform. There's someone in the receiving end of it, and there's this magic happening because I tell you something that's happened to me. You can relate, or maybe you can't relate, and that also stirs up all sorts of emotions, right? So let's look at her, right? How did she go about, what is it that she did? What is it that she was doing with her hands, first of all, right? She kind of went on doing this. It's like she's conjuring stuff up. She's getting it out and she's sending it outwards, right? So there's a metaphor to it as well. So whenever we gesticulate, a lot of times it's it's compensatory stuff. Like you're just nervous and it's got to go somewhere. So there's hands and they're everywhere. But look at how intentional those motions are, how she really indeed is choreographing, right? The narrative, right? and how she's swaying herself and how there's music in the background, right? And I do agree, Jane, it is so very touching. It's so moving. It's so darn relatable for so many immigrants and expats and yeah, the folk that has recently moved. So yeah, can only imagine. But what I want us to do is I want us to play with it ourselves. And before we also try and look at the vowels in her verses and her poetry, I want us to look at a couple of slides here again. So share screen, la la la. Okay, we're gonna go back. All right. The why before the how. Okay, so all them question words matter. What, when, where, who with, it's all of importance when it comes to talking, right? But the why is the first question to ask yourself. Why are you talking to somebody? Why? The form is going to help you deliver. It's going to help you produce a certain quality of sound and sounds, speech sounds. It's going to help you connect. Or not. But this is where I said it, the word connect. The reason why you're talking to somebody is for you to connect, to communicate, right? To exchange, to give, right? And then receive as well. And it's a process and it's all in motion, right? But always focus on why you're saying something, why you're giving a speech, right? Why you are sharing a certain thought, why you're sharing a certain item. Like, not every second and every step of the way, no, but when you walk into a room and you're about to say something, or when you walk into, when you get on Zoom, why am I there? What is it that I'm trying to do? I'm trying to connect with them listeners. Okay. So it's not about me, but it's about us, not about them either, right? It's about the connection. So hence this little visual here, right? So something to think about. I know, again, it's got a philosophical, ideological ring to it, but it's for good reason. So, and back to words not being just words, and spoken word being a form of art. I, as a phonetician, it's a weird word to me, but that's kind of what I am. So a prawn coach, an accent coach, someone who's crazy about the musicality of language, whichever language it is. I cannot help but, I can't help inviting you to think about the elements that words are comprised of, right? I want you to break stuff down so that you can put it back together and make better sense of it. So vowels, E, yeah, ooh, right? They help you get it out. They help you share your feelings, right? You can't really share a feeling through a consonant. Kind of, but not as effectively. You could go, right? The French, it's got a lot of, it's got a message to it for sure. But the vowels, because there's no obstruction in your mouth and there's just air getting out, right? They've got this empowering effect to them, right? So you really, truly get it out because there's nothing stopping the air from getting out, right? So, oh no, right? If I just go, no, not going to work. No. Or if I just go, whoa, not going to work. Why, right? Or if I just go, huh, how, who, right? So it's the vowels that are going to help make it happen. Now, as far as the consonants, we need to contain ourselves and contain the emotions, the thoughts, the ideas. We cannot just pour it out of ourselves. There's got to be some containers to the phonetics happening, right? So the consonants, they help us sort of contain the emotion. They help us keep it in. So we got we got all these clusters. We got sh, right? So all of that helps us, well, first of all, build further. It's a building block that helps us make words into words that make sense, because otherwise it's just noise for the sake of noise and emotion for the sake of emotion. But like I want you to think of the word left for a second, right? So if it's just a vowel towards the end of a word, me, she, why, look how impactful it is, right? So you can just sing it out and chant it out and hold it out for a good while and further affect the person listening. But left, that foot towards the end, that serves as a container to that particular word in whatever phrase you're building. So we do need those to not just, I don't know, be noise, if that makes any sense, right? And that's just something to think on for a second. So 2 questions I want you to ask yourself. What's in a poem? And then what's in a voice, right? And how is one connected to the other? Because we're trying to connect our vowels and our speech production with all of that pertaining to poetry. So what's in a poem? Ideally, there's going to be some rhymes, but not necessarily so, especially when it comes to English poetry. And there's the meter. Okay, the meter is so very important. We got da 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 da. So the musicality of it lives in the meter, right? And that in turn creates predictability. So as I read the poem, as I listen to someone talking English, I've got a certain expectation as to where it's going to go in terms of where their voice is going to travel. So there's certain patterns that the listener is just sort of on the lookout for, like, okay, what's coming? And if if it changes, and you get to a point where it's changed so much it's not really recognizable, that intimacy between yourself and the listener, it gets a bit compromised. So just something to think on, right? What's in a voice? Vocal placement, the resonance, okay? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it the front vowel, the back vowel, the lower vowel, the higher vowel? E, ooh, ah, oh, right? So what's happening inside our mouths? How is it affecting us if we pay attention to it? How much more intentionality is there to how we talk when we think about where the tongue is? Like, we're given this gift of a second language where we get to really learn about this stuff as opposed to just mindlessly acquire it. It's kind of cool. Now, cadence is such an important thing. What is cadence? There's this one definition that I like the most. The regular rise and fall of the voice. That is cadence, right? It's the music. It's the rhythm plus intonation formulation, right? Then we got attitude. Relaxed American attitude, not such relaxed British attitude, right? So it's very much going to affect the way you talk to someone, how you feel about language, yourself, the world, what attitude lives in there, right? Okay, so where were we? All right, Rupi, let us take a look at. Okay, hang on a second. Going to read something. Go and get back to it later. So we got this verse here, okay? And I want you to look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines and just read them to yourself, okay? Take your time with it. Don't rush yourself. Really feel them out. Have them move you. Let them move you. Read to yourself at this point. Okay. So we now going to focus on, well, this is, grammatical-ish stuff. We're going to focus on the keywords, right? So we got think, way, and father. And now we're going to think about the stressed vowels in these 3 words. So we got eh. And I want you to do this thing that she did with her hands. Eh. And I want you to create a wave, the little steps. Eh. Eh. Then moving on towards way, we got a diphthong. We got 2 vowels in one. It's a good deal, right? So we get a, and then I want you to create the wave with it. A. Lean into it. A, sway along with it. And I want you to look at this vowel here. Ah. the one we used in the warm-up section of today's workshop. Ah, ah. And I want you to create a wave with it. Ah. Okay. This is where Instagram is going to think that I'm doing sexual stuff and is going to block me again. So I better stop. So let's go. I think about the way my father. So let's just go. Think, way, father. Think, way, father. I think about the way my father. I think about the way my father. The cadence, the music, the fall and rise, right? And then we got pulled, oh, 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 oh. And then we got fa, 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 and wave it up. Fam, fam, fa, family. And then we got, again, father, poverty, the same vowel. It's no coincidence. You got poverty, poverty, pa, pa, pa. Let us go. Pulled, family, poverty. And then we got 2 steps. Da da da, da 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 da. Out of poverty, out of poverty. And then we got family, out of poverty. And then another step. The family, out of poverty. Pulled the family out of poverty. Excuse me. All right. And then we move on towards the 3rd line here. We got ow, oh, so many diphthongs. Aw, ow, aw. So look, aw, ow, aw. So you got a kind of a repetitive effect to how they're placed in a sentence, right? So you get aw, and then aw again. And then you got oh and ow, which are also close enough. And they're, pretty close to one another within this phrase. So we got ow, oh, aw, ow, aw. All right, so we got without, knowing, vowel, without, knowing, vowel, without knowing what a vowel was. What a vowel was. Draw them out in the air. What a vowel was. What a vowel was. And let's do the first 3 lines, shall we? And let's sway it out, okay? Again, I really would like for you to kind of chant along with me, as opposed to just watch. I think about the way my father pulled the family out of poverty without knowing what a vowel was. Okay, and then of course you can go lower, higher, but since we're so focused on the vowels, intonation-wise, cadence-wise, we're a little more contained, but you can just go crazy with it, go to town with it, right? So I think about the way my father pulled the family out of poverty without knowing what a vowel was, right? And we just finalize it here because then it's the mother bit, so it's a different part of the story. So let's, I'd like for us to do all of it, but we're kind of running out of time. So definitely ought to come back to this on my stories or whatnot. So moving on further, we got, more steps. And this is the second portion of it, the second verse, just as gorgeous. Let me just read it out loud, and I'm really going to chant out the vowels, right? So not rushing the vowels, taking my time with them. That's what Rupi does. That's what makes her production so hypnotic. A discombobulated couple that landed in the new world with hopes that left the bitter taste of rejection in their mouths. No family, no friends, just man and wife. 2 university degrees that meant nothing. 1 mother tongue that was broken now. 1 swollen belly with a baby inside. So yeah, drama, immigrant drama, beautiful stuff. Moving on further, Maya Angelou. Oh my goodness. So in this photo here, we got the younger Maya Angelou. And I don't know about you guys, but I mostly remember Maya as the sage, the elder version of herself, where she's in her late 50s and then 70s and then early 80s and all the things that she had to say in those interviews. I've never read any one of her autobiographies, and that's something that she's most famous for. So now that I've watched so very many interviews with her, I'm definitely going to dig further in, because I love her. So let's take a look. What is it that I got for you today? So this is Maya, as I remember her. But she used to be a dancer, a singer, a musician, and then she got to be a poet. And you know what's really interesting here is she's also got like 30-something honorary degrees. She never went to college, but all those colleges just gave her the title. So she's like a PhD here and there, and all of those Ivy League universities without ever having gone to school. It's kind of mind-blowing. Because yeah, she's the sage, she's the wise figure. And anyway, when she was 6 years old, she went mute, and she I believe she was 6 years old. But the thing is, she wouldn't talk for 6 years straight after some awfully traumatizing events. And basically, what happened is we got this poet. We got this artist. We got this person who's all about words and the concepts behind them and the feelings behind them. And for 6 whole years, she couldn't talk. She just wouldn't let herself because of what had happened to her. You can look it up. And it's just, again, as second language users, just really give yourself all sorts of space and all sorts of grace and all sorts of compassion when it comes to, really taking the time to get to a certain place. Because, you never know. You might get to be a poet in English in a couple years' time. So what do we got here? We got the most famous poem by Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. All right. So let me show you. I want you to pay attention to what it is that she's doing with her body, what it is that she's doing with her face, what it is that she's doing with the cadence. Where is her voice going up and down? What about the, the accompanying elements of it? What about the some sounds that are not speech sounds that are also present? What sort of emotion? What sort of tools to express that emotion? What is going on there? Okay, all of it is going to be of importance to us as we try and work our way through some of the lines of this poem. So let's take a look. This is me, and this is going to be Maya. Share screen. Still I Rise. Okay. The most famous poem. All right, there we go.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just because I laugh, as if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh. Does it come as a surprise that I dance? As if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling and bearing in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, wow. There I go.
All right. Are you in love with her as much as I am? So she's so playful, so very flirtatious and cheeky, and oh my goodness, there's so much that comes to mind, right? So I want you to think about what it is that she's doing with her core, her shoulders, and then there's the snapping, right? And there's the ha ha ha, and there's the right? So all the interjection-y stuff that doesn't necessarily include words per se, right? And so what we got happening here is a whole lot of how shall I put this? This is where I really wish it were a Zoom meeting so I could get, so you tell me what it is that you make of what you've just heard, as opposed to me just rambling on and on. But so let me just ask some questions, and it's up to you to answer those questions, right? So what is it that's going on physically, movement-wise, kinesthetically? What sort of energy does she give off? What sort of vibe? How is it? What is it again? Why is she delivering the poem? Why? Of course, we care about the how, but remember how the why is always at the center of speaking to whoever it is that's listening, right? So why? And what is it that helps her get there? And what is it that she does with her vowels? What is it that they help her make happen? What is it that they help her get across to you guys, right? So just back to Amanda Gorman's questions, right? So what sort of voice does she take on, right? Is it how does the person possessed of the voice feel about themselves? How do they feel about the world? How do they feel about those listening? All of that is going to contribute into this final product, right? So what I want us to do is I want us to look at one of the verses, and I want us to not imitate, but emulate, right? To not just make a parody of it, but add a bit of ourselves into how we do what we do. Jane, lots of passion and power. Yes, power, empowering, so very passionate, so very true to herself, so authentic. So comfortable with herself, and it doesn't irritate you at all, but rather you just in awe of how does one do that? Well, it took her a good few decades to get there. So what a life, what a gem. So what are we doing here? We're looking at the poem, right? Still I Rise. We got the gorgeous diphthong, I. Okay. So almost there. Here we are. Okay. So I want us to look at this portion here. Okay. First of all, you got you may at the beginning of each line, right? So what you've got happening is what they call anaphora, right? So it's this is what creates the poetic effect, right? Not the final words rhyming with each other, like A, B, but we got this repetitive sort of reminding the listener of what it is that we're trying to get across to them, right? So the repetition at the beginning of the sentence as opposed to towards the end of it. So we got you may, and I want us to look at you and may. First of all, may is going to have a larger wave to it, right? You is the pronoun, so it's going to be so much smaller. I want us to think about the vowels though, right? So we got ooh that we've talked about today, right? So we got the mobile sound, the sound that moves. Ooh, ooh, you, you. And it might get smaller, further, like it might travel further in and be made into a schwa sound, you. But because it's a poem and it's exaggerated reality, like we've said, we want to give those vowels a bit more space, right? Even if they're not part of the keywords here. You, send it out. And then may, and then break it down into two portions. E. You may. And they serve as the two steps that get us to the verb portion of the phrase that is going to be of utter importance phonetically, right? You may shoot me. You may shoot me. Ba 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 ba. Find that cadence. You may shoot me with your words. Shoot words. Shoot words. Again, shoot. See how the T helps us contain it, right? And then words. The R, the rhotic quality of the sound helps us kind of stretch it out a little bit. And we got Z, lots of voiced quality towards the end of the word. So you may shoot me with your words. You may cut me. See, shoot, cut. We got that T towards the end of it that is not aspirated. We do not really get it out, right? But we kind of stop ourselves at the last minute. You may cut me with your eyes. So eyes and rise. I really want you to give space to this diphthong because, first of all, that's the name of the poem. Still I rise. Okay, I. It's followed with a voice consonant here and a voice consonant here. So you want to give it as much space as possible, as opposed to ice and race, right? That is lots more contained. We got eyes and rise. So central voweling and then moving towards the I sound. So let's try this out. You may kill me. You may kill me. Think about your vowels. Give it intention. You may kill me with your hatefulness. Hatefulness. Schwa schwa towards the end of it. We got fullness. You may kill me with your hatefulness. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, that ol, even though it's a consonant, it's got this vowel sort of flowy quality to itself. But still, like air, I'll rise. And we go boom, boom. Still, air, rise. So let's just try this out. And again, you can get sassy with it. You can get cheeky with it. You can get flirty with it. But this is the part where she gets real, confrontational. But she knows her worth. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I'll rise. So find that groundedness in the vowels. Find that emotional output, right? It's very much in there. And what I'd like for us to finalize this with, I want us to listen to a bit of I Have a Dream. And well, again, arguably, Martin Luther King is no poet, but he's a civil activist, and that's a form of poetry, I gotta say. And again, you've got this anaphora happening where what gives it this poetic quality to the speech of his is the fact that he starts each passage with, I have a dream. Again, such powerful vowels. I, just like in eyes and rise, I'll rise. The diphthong, it takes up so much space there. So I have a dream. I have a dream. I have a dream. Dream. It's got that stirry quality to it. Dream. Dream. And well, he almost goes on to chant those words. It's almost like he's this close to singing. That's how very passionate he is about what he is saying to the people. So let us take a look. Give me 1 second. Stop. And here we go. Share screen. All right. There we go.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Let's be real. Life can get tough to say the least, and especially without someone to talk to. And as men,
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
All right. Now, who dares to say he's not a poet? He's a poet. He's a poet to me. He'll be a poet to me always. And yeah, look at what it did. The power to the vowels and to the cadence and to the this impassioned musicality of his delivery, right? So it's the why at the center of it, and it's the super ever powerful how that makes things happen. So yeah, this is where I get ever philosophical. All right, you guys. So this is it. I believe that's all I had for you today. So do think on what is that you're taking away with you. What is it that you make of this concept, my unique voice? What is it that I produce in terms of the constituents of words, right? The speech sounds. What is it that I produce in terms of my body, the vessel to all the sounds that come out of me, right? What is it that I bring with me? What mood is my voice in? That sort of stuff, right? And always, why am I here? I'm here to connect with the listener. And if that is at the center of what you're doing, whatever nervousness there is, whatever anxiety there might be, right? It really helps alleviate all of that stuff when you know why you're there. and why someone might listen, why someone might relate, why. Okay. So I want us all to finalize this workshop thingy that I didn't get cut off. Yay. Instagram did not block the heck out of me this time around. I say this is a major success. Thanks so much for all of you guys who stuck around. For any one of you who'd, popped on and then just had to go, there's going to be a recording. I'm saving it. I'm saving this stuff. It's also going to be available on YouTube if you want it to be, on a larger screen. I'm going to post that stuff in my stories. So here we are. This is Finding Vowels 3 of Poetry. Love this workshop. Thanks a lot. Thanks to you. I'm here. So thanks so much, Jane. And what else? And I want us to say, I have a dream, okay? I want us to think about the vowels. I want us to think about our feet, our knees, our wrists, our necks, our shoulders, our heads, our hair. How is all of this part of me saying the words, right? Am I present? Am I aware of my body here? Am I, connected with it, and vice versa? So I want you to go on. I want you to go, I have, have, also very powerful, sassy vowel, remember? And then dream. I want you to go dream. And I want you to send it outwards. And there's an M at the end of it, a sonorant sound that is kind of a consonant, but it's also kind of a vowel. So you can hold it out further. So you go, I have a dream. We all do. And, as to what Martin Luther King was talking about there, me coming from Russia, I sure, it resonates with me a great deal. I have a dream, and I think you all know what it is. All right. So, thanks so very much for today. And I'll be in touch. Do let me know if you got any questions at all. And please do consider, I still got a couple spots left, right? Joining the Sound of Identity course of ours. So I'd love for you to be there, right? To work on our sounds, to work on our presence, to work on our cadence, to work on our production, to work on our connection with our voices, right? It's not that you need to work on your voice. It's already in there. You just need to rediscover it, if you will, right? Well, I mean, that is, I'm not one to say whether you need it or not, but if it resonates with you, then I'm definitely here for it. So there we go. So I'm going to pause now. Or rather, this is it. We've arrived. But I will be seeing you tomorrow. Okay. And I'll be better at the whole streaming thing. I solemnly swear. Okay. I'm getting better at this because the more you do it, the better you get at it. Another cliche that makes a whole lot of sense. Anyhow, so you guys have a great rest of the day, rest of the night, and I'll see ya. Bye-bye.